Well, it's the unknown mechanic back again. This channel is for shop owners who maybe don't have techs that are quite up to par, or aspiring mechanics that want to raise their level of proficiency, and also the do-it-yourselfer homeowner who may want to tackle this kind of a job on your own. You can watch and maybe learn how to do it the right way and avoid some mistakes that might be really expensive. So today we're trying to clean up another mess that one of my crappy mechanics was unable to repair. Worked on it for a day or day and a half, and changed some parts that were probably unnecessary, and he can't get it to run. So now I've got to fix it. So let's see what we've got here. This belongs to Rotten Crotch Tree Service, and it says won't start, repair is necessary. So I'm going to review what Speedy is the mechanic that tried to fix this, and he gets in deep, way over his head, and does things sort of prematurely without really making sure that that's what's necessary and needs to be done. And looks like he has changed the piston rings. So he's changed the spark plug, and he's changed the fuel filter, and that's pretty simple, just a couple minutes. But he was convinced that the compression was too low on this saw. This is an MS201TC M. It's a top-handled arborist saw. It's quite expensive. So we've got to make a good effort to get it to go. And Speedy was complaining that Stihl, unlike Echo and Shindaiwa and some of the other vendors, publish their compression readings, minimum and maximum and so forth. And Stihl does not. Stihl simply has what they call a drop test. And if you hold the saw by the starter handle and the motor goes poof, 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 the compression is unacceptable. And that's Stihl's official compression test. They don't publish any readings that you can use a compression gauge. But I still like to put the gauge in there, and I make my own notes of compression readings that I find on Stihl products, and I build my own library of those, and that can be helpful in the future. So looking at these rings, there's not a damn thing wrong with them, okay? I mean, they're a little worn, but if this was miles on a car, this wouldn't be 300,000 miles and the engine is worn out. Maybe this is like 10 or 20,000 miles. It's perfectly acceptable. So, he changed the rings. It's got a new cylinder gasket in there too, and it won't run. It's the same as it was before. He said that it would want to start, it would pop, fire a few times, but it just will not run. So I'm going to have to, take it outside and try to start it and see if there's any clues. One thing I notice is the air filter cover is broken. But the air filter box, the air filter are okay. The filter looks new. Maybe he replaced that and forgot to put it on the bill. That's another mistake that a lot of crappy mechanics do, is they use parts like candy and then they don't put them on the bill, and put them in the computer, and the parts end up going out the door. So it's called inventory shrinkage, and I wish I could take that money out of their pocket. So I'm going to try to, I'm going to shut the camera off and go outside, and we'll see if this thing will do anything at all. I'm going to take my my primer with me. So pause for a moment. Okay, I'm back again after an attempted test run, and I think I'm going to change out my squeaky stool here so you can hear better. Sometimes that squeaking is my back, not the stool. Okay, that's all right. Well, there's a few pops and a few puffs of smoke and fired occasionally, but it will not run. And typically what Speedy or Dingus or Gomer would do is they'd be out there for an hour pulling the rope, thinking that it's wanting to start and that it's going to start, and wasting a lot of time. If it doesn't start in a minute, you're going to have to go back in and back to the drawing board. So one of the clues is the intermittent firing. It's a red flag right away. There's something wrong with the ignition. And this is an M-tronic. There's a control unit and a solenoid and a wiring harness, and the components and the testing and stuff may be beyond what a do-it-yourselfer or a homeowner can do. This is a modern state-of-the-art saw, but I think it's got an ignition fault. And what I'm going to do is use they call an MG1 tester. It requires some software being loaded into a computer, and some special hardware that Stihl supplies, and we're going to connect that and turn on the computer, and maybe there'll be some kind of a fault code that will come up. So fortunately I don't have a laptop here at the workbench. The software is loaded into a desktop, so I'm going to have to shut the camera off and do a little bit of testing. Okay, I'm ready to bring up the software for this. Don't use this that often, so kind of have to fumble through it. All right, so I'm going to plug the power in. Okay, so the Bluetooth thing found it, and we are going to be using the MDG1. All right, so we'll enter in the serial number. Okay, so that didn't work. It says unable to detect model. So I'm gonna skip this. Okay, there is a drop-down menu. And I'm going to select an MS201TC M. And now we're going to make some connections. Okay, that's done. Okay, see a spinning arrow here, so something is detecting. Detection in progress. Okay, so the message I've got here is control unit does not react. First thing, they want the check the connection of the analyzer. Well, it's connected. I don't need to check that. Check plug connections on control unit. I am going to check that. Check electrical leads. I am going to check that. Then replace the damaged parts if necessary. So I'm going to pause here and back to the workbench. All right, back on the bench, and we are going to look at some wiring connections because I think we have some type of an ignition fault. So the control unit is under the starter housing, and there's a little access panel here. But to get that out, we've got to remove the starter. Okay, so there's the connection. This will come out. Okay, there's a little clamp there to route the wires. So you got to pay attention to that. And I don't see anything broken here. delicate little parts. Okay. I don't see anything wrong with the ground wire. Ground wire is yellow. I don't see anything wrong with this. Got two male spades here with an insulator in between and a connector block, and there's nothing wrong with it. So I don't think that's the problem. This is the control unit, and there is a wiring harness that runs all the way through the saw, goes to the carburetor. There's a solenoid on the carburetor, and there's obviously there's an ignition switch in here, and then there's a connector over here, which I was just using the MDG1 tester to plug into that. So let's go a little deeper. Okay. That's the connection for the solenoid. I'm not sure what this is. Oh, that's just wire routing. That's so you can, this is a terminal block so you can disconnect and remove the carburetor, solenoid and carburetor together. That's what that is. So sometimes the solenoids on the carburetor go bad, and the symptom there, we've run into that several times, where it won't idle. The saw will run at high speed, but when you come back down off of your throttle, it will not idle. And there's more than one solenoid. The emission sticker is worn on this. I can't read the emission revision number. So I'd have to do the parts lookup by serial number to make sure I get the right solenoid. Some of the solenoids are color coded. There's like a black one and a green. A new one is green, and I think the original one might be white. Might be wrong about that, but I think there's 3 different solenoids for the different upgrades on this M-tronic. There's probably been some upgrades in this control unit as well. So I'm going to take this apart. So I've had some trouble. I recently was working on another customer, Tape Buster Pudge. He's the one that has a lot of broken bar studs. If you haven't seen that video, you should watch the Stihl MS201TC M bar stud extraction and replacement. That also belonged to Tape Buster Pudge, had a 201, and up in the front here, this handle molding was broken. There was a chip, a large chip missing out of the molding and the handle housing, and it allowed for the handle to excessively move You know, when the saw was in a heavy cut and a lot of pressure was being applied to it, it would run until the handle bottomed out and then it would shut off. And I took the bar and chain off that one, and when I was running it on the bench, you could push down while the saw was running, and when you push down far enough, the saw would shut off. So this is not the first time. This handle molding, there's nothing broken up here. So when this bottoms out, this is going to touch the crankcase. But on the other saw, it moved further, and the wiring harness was destroyed underneath there. So that's not the first one. It's kind of hard to tell. I think I'm going to have to remove the motor mount, check for that spot. Let's see there. It's going to be okay, that doesn't look very good. Yep, that does not look good at all. I'm going to bring the camera in. Okay. There's some wire crushing going on there. That is not normal. I don't know if Speedy did this. Probably not, because the saw came in with a problem. I think this problem was there and Speedy just didn't find it. So we're going to have to address that before I start replacing a lot of really expensive solenoids and control units and whatnot. Definitely going to get a wiring harness. So I'm going to pause and go look up some parts and see what we can come up with. Okay, I'm back after some parts lookup, and we had this in stock, several of these, and I checked, and one of the clues is the sales history. There is definite sales history on this wiring harness, so this is a weak point, this is a fault, and this is not tremendously expensive part. It's $22 approximately, but it does require a lot of labor to go all over the saw and replace this thing. It goes everywhere. And so my videos are often too long, so I've got to shorten this. I'm going to pause the camera and I'm going to do the nut and bolt operation. You don't need to see that. And when I'm finished replacing the wiring harness, then we're going to go back to the tester and hook up the MDG1 and see if we can get some information out of the control unit, and that would indicate that the wiring harness is the fault. So I'm going to pause. Okay, the saw is all back together. It took me 40 minutes to run this wiring harness all the way from the control unit up into the handle, through the handle under the throttle linkage, choke linkage, into the airbox, onto the solenoid, and the access port. And this wiring harness is definitely bad. Let's see if we can bring this in. It's bad. Somebody's, I think, has been tinkering with this saw. I don't think it was Speedy. I think the customer must have been monkeying around with this, because the wires were not routed in their protected channel. So I don't know who was working on this before we got it. Usually when you ask these customers, they always say the same thing. The guy did it. Well, who is the guy? Well, you know, those guys. Well, who are those guys? Oh, well, you know, it's that guy. Well, exactly who is that guy? And they just don't want to tell. And you know, you finally beat it out of them, and it's Theguy. That's all you can get out of them. And you know, there's somebody around here besides Speedy and Dingus and Gomer and Scratch that are doing crappy work. I don't think the customer was in here. I think the customer took it somewhere and some other Gilligan monkeyed with it. So I'm going to pause the camera, and we're going to go over to the desktop where the software is. I'm going to repeat that test. Okay. All right, so first thing is plug it in. Okay, that's done. Okay, it found it. Skip this because it couldn't find the serial number. I'm just going to manually enter it in, MS201TC M. And now we're going to do some connections. Oh, okay, there we go. This time it worked. It says, you know, MS201TC M, and the serial number matches. And that's kind of puzzling because, you know, in the previous menu, I tried to put that exact serial number in and it couldn't find it. So I used the manual selection and just selected the saw by model. So, yep, I think that we have solved the problem. I think I'm going to take it outside and try to start it and see if it'll start and run. So, I don't want to make the video too long. Keep it going. Okay, I'm going to see if it'll run. Okay, so we got a one-pull start out of it. Speedy, he probably pulled it 5,000 times and got some exercise out of that over, I don't know how many hours he was pulling the rope. But just a few more little details. I think I'm probably going to replace the air filter cover. And you know, there's a reset procedure that's usually required if you replace the control unit. I'm gonna check into that and see, you know, if this will reset by itself to factory default settings just by starting it and running it. So, because I didn't replace the control unit, just the wiring harness, and put the bar and chain on it, and you know, give it a final test run with the bar and chain. But I think it's ready to go. It's fixed properly. Yep, that's another success. If you you know, are the do-it-yourselfer or the homeowner, and you know, obviously you don't have access to the software and the testing tools, you can perhaps still learn from this and, you know, do your visual inspection and, you know, look for faults. This is definitely a part that fails fairly commonly, because I do have sales history on this. But if you know, you replace the wiring harness, and especially if you don't see anything wrong with it, and you still, you know, have some kind of an ignition fault, that's when you're probably going to have to take it to a dealer with the right tools and a mechanic that knows how to you know, go through those steps and test it properly. So if you like the video, you know, subscribe to the channel. Also leave some comments. Nobody ever leaves any comments. Make sure that you watch my other videos. Some of those are on vintage saws. This is a state-of-the-art, modern, high-tech saw of today. So, you know, I hope, you know, there's some companies out there and dealers out there that you know, can learn from this and not waste a lot of time and put a lot of wrong parts in the machine, like piston rings, for example, like Speedy did. So that's it for the Unknown Mechanic for today. Catch my next episode. I don't know what it's going to be.